behind me is the most powerful truck that Ford has ever built. Of course, Ford and SVT, Special Vehicle Team, have a long history of creating poster-worthy trucks that seem to just defy the laws of physics. They have no business being on the road. This one is a little bit different. Let's rewind about 6 years. I was down in California. I drove the 6.2-liter first-gen Ford Raptor for the first time, and it blew every expectation I had out of the water of what that truck could be. You guys know me. I'm not a truck guy, and at the time, the Raptor was the only truck I would take a second look at. It was the only one I actually cared about, and I loved it before I ever drove it. The owner of that car, Raleigh, had modified his car with 37s, wider fender flares, and of course the most crucial piece of it all, a much, much louder exhaust. He had created his own vision of what the Ford Raptor should be, and I agreed with him. Totally and completely. So when the second generation EcoBoost Raptor was released, I was disappointed. Like I'm sure a lot of you guys were as well. I thought to myself, hey, is this the end? Is this really the last of the V8s? Just as I was getting started, the era that I was kind of thrown into seemed to just disappear overnight. But of course, as is the case with pretty much anything around here, patience is key. And of course, by patience, I mean competition, because we all know the R would not exist without the TRX. So before we have to mourn the loss of the V8 Raptor again, I'm gonna thoroughly enjoy my time with this just blisteringly loud V8 behind me. Let's go. Ford Raptor R, let's go, you guys. Yeah, it spares no time toying around, no time playing around. But ironically, that's exactly what the Ford Raptor is all about. It is absolutely the definition of a toy here. And that all starts, of course, under the hood. 700 horsepower, 640 pound-feet of torque. This is Ford's answer to the TRX. It is not only, as I mentioned, the most powerful truck Ford has ever built. It is the fastest production truck ever built, but I have to put an asterisk there because, of course, the Hummer EV and the Rivian R1T are quicker than this to 60 miles an hour. But as we all know, EV trucks and EVs in general, they don't have souls. So this is the quickest production truck. We're just gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it right there. All right, we're gonna go into sport mode, which of course firms up the dampers a little bit. God, this truck just rides so well on pavement though. The long travel suspension is it's dual personality. It works so well off-road, but then you get out here on the street and it works just amazing. It's such a soft truck, but let's do a little bit of a launch here. Let's go. Four-wheel burnout. There was one word to describe the Raptor R that doesn't really actually apply to the standard EcoBoost Raptor, is stupid. It's a stupid truck. What have they done here? They've effectively taken the 5.2-liter supercharged V8 from the GT500, a vehicle that I'm kind of glad actually that I haven't driven yet, because it gives this truck a whole new meaning for me. They take that engine, they stuff it into a pickup truck. I mean, those are two opposite things. The GT500 has, well, it's got what you could consider safety features. It has, oh, I don't know, downforce. It has aerodynamics. It has sticky tires. The Raptor has none of that. It gets rid of the chain link fence, so to speak. It gets rid of all barriers. It's all on you as a driver, and that is, that's what kind of freaks me out. I mean, when we look back at the era of sport trucks, of course the Cyclone kind of started that, and then we got the SRT10, we got the SVT Lightning. No, not that Lightning. those trucks did the same thing, but they took into consideration, I don't know, center of gravity. Whereas here in the Raptor, we've got 37s, which are able to be spec'd on the EcoBoost Raptor. They're standard here. It is so incredibly loose just because they're not really meant for the street. But I'm happy to say, even though Ford does not specifically want this truck to be taken off-road, it handles really well. There's lots of body roll, it's loose, it's super playful. You can toss it around and not feel like it's gonna get away from you. It does not feel like it's 6,000 pounds. The steering, first off, it's got 3 modes: normal, eco, sport. It's got 4 modes, sorry. Normal, eco, sport, and Baja. And it's great. The rack is incredibly quick. It's got great feel, even considering the roughly 6,000 pound weight we're chucking around here. It wants to jump out of its skin every chance it can get. Oh my God. And here, listen to this. Real metal paddle shifters here, 0 to 60 in about 3.6 seconds, as tested by Car and Driver. All right, traction control off, 2-wheel drive. Let's see if we can get a little bit sideways, a little bit squirrely. Huge burnout. Just laying down huge 11s. God, that's fun. All right, let's tone it down. That was in quiet exhaust mode, by the way, believe it or not. Now we're in normal. A little bit louder. Obviously, the V8's connected to a 10-speed automatic. At full throttle, it almost feels like a dual clutch. If I had one thing to say about the transmission and the engine combo, which is, to be honest, what you're paying most for here, is that it just shifts an excessive amount. Now, you can, of course, mitigate that by either throwing it in manual mode or in sport mode. But if you're in just normal and auto, it's constantly shifting. It just kind of takes away from the power band that we want here and from the noise. Downshifts are a little bit delayed. Not too bad, though. Okay, so we've got a bunch of different drive modes. We've got quiet. Did you hear that change, you guys? That's quiet mode. It's a little bit louder. Sport mode, even louder. And then Baja mode, which we're on a closed course. Off-road use only for that one, but it is ridiculous. There goes 50 bucks in gas. Standard Raptor starts at about $100,000 Canadian. This one here, as tested, $150,000 Canadian, or about $111,000 USD. I'm gonna hop out in a sec and I'll tell you guys exactly what's contained in that package, but that's what you're paying for. The only option here is the extended panoramic roof and the electric tailgate in the back. So upon first impression, it kind of just looks like the standard Raptor. There's not really much going on here, but let's take a look around. In the front here, of course, we've got the Ford across the grille here. This is standard for all Raptors, of course, but this orange R here, that's new. That means V8. That's not the only thing that means V8, actually, because if we look on the hood, look at the graphics here. This entire graphic here on the hood and the same on the side. These are made up of a bunch of little 8s, which I found a little bit much, but from 20 feet away, you can't tell. And then of course there it says supercharged V8. You get a little bit bigger of a hood scoop here. And then of course the skid plates and the orange tow hooks. Big Fox long travel suspension, of course here, specially tuned for the Raptor R. And then of course there's Raptor, there's your R. You see this orange R, that means V8. Other than that though, visually it's pretty much the same. The R actually does have a separate exhaust system that's specific to the V8, of course, to accommodate the 2 extra cylinders and a few pounds of boost. You know, I love this azure metallic tri-coat here, and it is just excessive in all the right ways. We do have an all digital dash here. I'm not, like, it looks cool, it's got color to it, and when you change drive modes, of which we have 7 of them, of course we've got wet, we've got tow, we've got sport, which changes up the damping settings a little bit. We've got normal, off-road, Baja, and kind of like a rock crawl mode. But when you change those settings, yeah, the gauges change color a little bit, but there's no real customization here. And I just haven't really come around to the whole 1.5 1,000 times RPM on the rev counter. There's no actual numbers on the tach, so you just have a big open gaping space between where you're at and redline. It's easy to look at visually, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more there. And 2, you're not actually able to move the maps directly over from the main screen here over to the digital gauge cluster here, which is, of course, just kind of a luxury, but something that you aren't able to do here. As I mentioned, different damping settings. We've got normal. I mean, the long travel suspension on here goes such a long way. The ability in 2023 to create a truck, a toy like this, that can do what it can do off-road, that can sound the way it sounds, that can look the way it looks, and command such a presence, but also on your commute home, be incredibly comfortable. Heated seats, heated steering wheel. These Recaro, leather and suede Recaros, amazing. One word, that's all I gotta say about them, amazing. Great interior here. Almost everything you touch is amazing. This material up here is the only piece where I'd be like, it's not, I mean, it's still a truck, so you want materials to be able to get dirty in a worst case scenario, but everything here, leather on the center console here. We've got suede, and I'm happy to say that the steering wheel is leather, not suede, because it would wear out very quickly. And of course, we have a bunch of carbon fiber trim and orange accents, which carry over to the tow hooks outside, of course, and the R badges everywhere. It is so insane to me that Ford and Dodge are still going at it like this. The horsepower wars have, they kind of waned a little bit when the GT500 came out. They just kind of transferred it over to a different segment here, into the truck segment. Gas mileage is horrible. This truck gets the worst fuel economy of any vehicle, straight up, that I've ever driven. We all missed it. The EcoBoost was great, but the Raptor R just gives me hope that we can still have our toys, and that's, you know, Ford's going to be able to cater to this, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Thank you, Ford. Thank you, Ford, for letting me drive the Raptor R. This has just been a real dream come true. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit me up on Instagram if you want to see what I'm driving and shooting on a day-to-day basis. Subscribe if you haven't already. And like I said, you can watch our Raptor versus Sur video right there. See you guys next time.